What's up, long players? Welcome back to the Long Play Listening Party, the show where we go deep on local music, writing, recording, inspiration, gear, music business, and whatever else sounds good to us. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records, joined by my illustrious co-host, Nate Holt. What's going on, Nate? Nate's doing a dance for the audio podcast listeners.
Last week was not as good of a dance, but anyway.
It can't all be the best.
No.
We're joined once again by Rob Spectre out of Brooklyn, New York. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, Howie and Nate? Good to see y'all.
And we're just relaxing. Got some music in the background. It's going to be more synth music from my new album, Only Mostly Dead. We're not particularly going to talk about it. Instead, Rob has brought a discussion question that we're going to use to kick off our discussion.
I really wanted to hear from you, Nate, on what you feel about all these catalogs being sold over the course of the past couple years. So it kind of kicked off with like Dylan with like the 300 million deal. I think that was with Hypnosis, which is, I guess, a private equity firm. But instead of buying companies, they're buying song catalogs. It's like some kind of investment vehicle where they're trying to accumulate publishing rights in a big way. There's been a ton of other people since. There's been
Springsteen,
Mick Fleetwood, Stevie Nicks, a ton of folks. What do you feel about this trend of these like mega?
I don't know.
Deals?
I don't know what to think about it, because I mean, these are already, I think, fabulously wealthy individuals, right? Who I think probably know much more about whatever financial situation they're in than I do, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's kind of a big fat question mark to me. Obviously these companies will get, probably short-term gains and immediate profits from having those catalogs, but I don't know.
I mean,
maybe I don't know.
So I guess the thing for me, Nate, is like, how what time frame do you think is realistic to realize a return for spending $300 million on Bob Dylan publishing? Like, so I guess the question for me, like, who's the greater fool? Are the artists like cashing out at the time that they feel is their legitimate?
I mean, that's kind of where I was.
Or is
going
there something
with
that
it. I don't know that. What's going through their heads, being already like you probably having more money than they know what to do with, but that's probably part of it. I mean, wouldn't you think, like, hey, if these people want to pay me this ridiculously large amount of money for that, then sure. I don't know. I mean, and then you get into, ideals and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, why? Some of them are saying, why not? I don't know.
Rob, I don't know much about these deals. Do the buyers, it's probably different per deal, but in general, do the buyers have the ability to do like new licensing things and potentially earn more money, or are they just holding the publishing rights and getting the revenue that would have accrued to the artist?
So most of these deals start as publishing rights, and they eventually pick up recording. So like Bob Dylan sold his publishing for $300 million, then sold his recording for $200 million. So there's a lot of I'm gonna let this siren pass by.
Sure.
Part of recording in New York.
Okay, man.
Brooklyn, yeah.
Honestly, it's like when I go to Kansas and I don't hear a siren every now and again, I start to get a little worried.
It's weird, yeah.
Are there responsible people out there paying attention to what's going on? Like, I need to know. Yeah. But yeah, like, so the thing that's like confusing for me is like most of these deals are for publishing rights because that's the only thing a lot of these people still have. Because a lot of these artists that we're talking about here, like Hall & Oates and Taylor Swift, like they were artists that were born during the era of like draconian masters ownership, right? Like, Taylor Swift may have had the publishing rights on the half of the songs that she got to write for the record by the record label, but like the recording is almost certainly owned by someone else at this point. So a lot of these deals are just like eye-wateringly high numbers for just the publishing only. And the exploitation vector for those is like really unclear. And the long-term value of that is also really unclear, right? Because when you're talking about Dylan, like we're 50 years removed from the contemporaneous exploitation of those songs. And I can't imagine that there is that much more blood you're going to get out of those turnips like coming down the pike, because the music is just no longer going to be relevant, right? Like I don't mean to say that like Bob Dylan isn't a timeless artist by any stretch of the imagination, but look, Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald are timeless artists too, but they are not making the same kind of publishing revenue that they were 20 years ago. Like there's definitely a peak value, and I think for a lot of these artists, like where they're either at it or really approaching the end of it, and I just don't understand the business case for owning these catalogs right now, and certainly not for acquiring them with that kind of money.
So there would be, and I hear that this doesn't compare to like the buying price, but like there would be a fairly predictable like annual revenue for Bob Dylan's publishing, right? Like you could count that that's basically, I would just throw out a figure, $3 million a year, which is only a tiny fraction of what the buyer paid, but like you can definitely count on that going out, probably a slow decline, but for 10 or 20 years.
Yes, but
right?
call
So
me,
that's a piece
and call
of
me
it.
a conspiracy theorist, but money laundering. I mean,
Okay. You're just saying this is like absolutely a lost vehicle in order to launder money.
Yeah.
I think there are much better ways of doing that, I would imagine.
But whatever. I mean,
Well,
it seems that like people really. I mean, a lot of that it just seems like, hey, whatever, just gonna happen. Fuck. we're probably fine. I don't know.
Well, the reason why it's like salient today is it was announced in Billboard that Kanye West is looking to do one of these deals. And outside of Taylor Swift, I would say that would be the most recent artist to do one of these kinds of like big blockbuster deals. And Billboard estimated that the songs in the catalog were doing roughly $13 million a year in publishing royalties annually, which is not nothing, right? Like that's a decent chunk of revenue for Kanye. But the price that he was trying to sell this thing for was 35 times the gross profit of his publishing rights. And so I think the question that I'm posing for the group is like, do you think these valuations are going to ultimately produce a return or not? And if it could produce a return, how would you envision, like is there some kind of novel exploitation of these publishing rights that I'm just missing? Because I do not understand how you take a thing that's making 13 million right now and pay 35 times for it and hope to make it back in any kind of time frame that would be acceptable to an investor. Like if you're doing private equity, you're hoping to get your money back in 8 to 12 years. Like that's the idea, plus, some meaningful return that hopefully is greater than market value. And for a lot of these catalogs, I just don't understand how you get there.
Right. There's that missing piece of, on the one hand, using the numbers we have access to, we say, well, it may take 35 years to turn a profit on this. On the other hand, standard practice, very roughly, like you said, generally looking for 8 to 12 years. So let's hypothesize for a second. So let's say the buyer has a reason that they think they will be turning a profit in 8 to 12 years. What could that reason be? What could that look like? Is there some new platform? Is the label going to do something? It has to, probably it has to be something that all these different deals could touch on, right? Like it's not going to be a different reason.
I mean, maybe for newer technologies.
I mean, do we need another remaster of a Dylan record? Like, I feel like they have remastered the biscuits out of that, right? Like, what else? What more of that waveform can you extract from those masters? That is
and I don't have a good answer to my own question here.
I mean, they get paid so much more to know why they're doing it. I don't know. I just. It must make sense in some level, at some in some back assward way. I don't know, what am I trying to say, but
I think you're trying to say bass awkward,
something like that.
Yeah. No, I agree, Nate. Like somebody somewhere who's making these purchases is telling themselves a story about how this is going to be profitable. What is that story?
What on earth could that be? Because I do not understand.
I don't so when artists and this isn't fun to think about, but there is a bump when artists pass away. How much is that bump? Not $250 million, I don't think, but like that's something. Does that double your publishing maybe for a year or two, roughly? That could be a small piece of the puzzle.
And you can have a novel exploitation where you do the like posthumous record, like they did that with Michael Jackson and a lot of other artists. I just, man, how do you get to $300 million?
Yeah, maybe it's like a reverse mortgage type of thing.
Yeah. Well, even if you think about it on a super long-term time frame, which I can't imagine that these folks raised this money on a 30-year time frame, but if you're talking a 30-year time frame, that means this Kanye catalog is going to be what Dylan is now, right? And Dylan is going to be like Glenn Miller old. Like he's going to be like ancient. So how does this make any business sense? I don't know. I don't understand. Now I don't.
I wish Royce was here.
There should be a perfect Christian for Royce, for sure.
Like I don't begrudge these artists for taking the payday. Like look, if the money's there, like just take it, right? Like I do think my sense is that the managers of these artists know quite a bit more about the shelf life of the product than the private equity people that are purchasing it. And they're kind of
saying,
that they're getting.
Do it now.
Yeah, they're just like, you're never getting this chance again. I have no idea why these Johans are doing it. This
means you can tour or you can not tour, but whatever,
yeah.
You're fine.
This will be a much bigger estate for your family than any other possible vehicle. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I do wonder what it means for music as a whole if there is a significantly funded element that is trying for their livelihoods, for the sake of their fund, continuing to exploit old music with literally no financial incentive to find new music. In fact, it is in their best interest if less new music makes it to ears.
Right, to keep attention on the old music. Well, that's a whole, I mean, that opens up a whole much bigger question in terms of like how do we support or finance or just make it possible for artists to make music, make new music? How do we pay for new music? And
I mean, we talk about these deals. We are approaching the size of the annual music industry today, right? Like
if you add them all up,
it's about a $17 billion industry. If you like add up all these deals together, you're starting to get close to it, right? And if the money behind old music is eclipsing the money behind new music, like what kind of industry are we going to be living in?
Bob Dylan and AI generated stuff, I guess.
yeah, like I don't know.
That sounds like a rough part of a Cory Doctorow novel.
Yeah, it's fascinating to consider. Like we may approach a level where more people are paying, where more capital is going into stuff our parents and grandparents listen to than the stuff that we're listening to now. Which is crazy to consider because we're not spring chickens.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh no, it's killing me when I see the 20-year tweets about what I think of as an artist's new album.
Yeah, I saw a thing today. There was a new special pressing of Bad Religion's "How Could Hell Be Any Worse," and it is 40 years old.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's painful. That is painful. That hurts.
Yeah, that's almost reaching like Buddy Holly when we were 15 kind of territory.
Yeah, on the Windows 95 CD. Oh man.
Yeah. Oof. Oh no, I meant like Buddy Holly, like 55 to 95, 40 years.
I thought you were talking about the Weezer video.
Right,
which is itself very old.
It's like that song was about a guy. Did you know that?
Oh, was it? Okay.
So tell me more about that.
I
will link to Buddy Holly's.
Yeah, who is this Buddy Holly character?
Who is this Buddy Holly that you're speaking of? And how much do you think he could sell his catalog for?
Why hasn't he sold his?
Really?
He had some bops. Probably a couple $100 million at least, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, if Dylan, I don't know. This is generation before Dylan, kind of. I mean, things were happening so fast back then.
Dude.
In terms of musical development, but yeah, I don't know, man. That's a great question, Rob, and I just don't know if Nate or I can mount a good answer. But it is that is an important mystery. It's like, why there's a disconnect somewhere. If artists thought that they were going to earn more than these deals are paying them, they wouldn't deal, right? So artists think that this is a good deal for them. They might well be right. Buyer thinks that it's going to be a good deal for them. Why? What?
Good luck.
What does the buyer think that they know?
It feels like they've got the hard part.
I mean, the only bull case
that feels like it, but I'm not. I'm obviously not paid near that amount of money to understand that shit. So I'm just gonna stay out of it. It could be a fucking pain in the ass. They could be taking on the hard part, or they could just be geniuses. I don't know.
I think the only bull case I can think of for Hypnosis and a lot of these firms is their bet is music is going to be frozen before 2002. Like what is truly popular music, what is truly universal music, a song that literally everyone knows will never happen again. Like that's the only possible explanation I can think of. Which is good and bad, right? Like it's bad in the sense that there is this shared musical history that the market may have fragmented itself to such a degree is impossible to have in a national way anymore. And I don't know if that's true or not. But it's also good in the sense that, you know, it's so much easier to make a living as an artist than it was in 2002. It just may be impossible to make a fortune as an artist ever again, which is a wild thing to think about.
Yeah, that'd be tough to think about if kind of the day-to-day maybe is better, but we don't have those, you know, a Let It Be or a blowing in the wind, or
we don't have a Madonna record, right? Like we don't have like a Prayer, like that song, that crazy song with all the crap that was going on into it, and like the, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of production value. Like we don't get that song now. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to consider.
I think it's a plausible answer to your own question, and I appreciate that. I mean, you've come the closest at a story. It's an appropriate story for our times. It's not a hopeful story particularly. It's mixed at best, but it.
If Kanye sells his catalog for $500 million, that guy is going to become even more insufferably crazy than he is right now. Like Kanye right now is out of control. Kanye with $500 million will be insane. Like it will be mental.
So wait, so what does he want to do now that like not having enough money is the main barrier to?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what he wants to sell. Maybe he feels the train is leaving the station on these deals, and maybe he's just trying to strike while the iron's hot. I don't know what his motivation would be.
I don't want to speculate about Kanye's motivations. I mean, I'm not withholding anything. I have no speculation to make. I would be. He strikes me as someone who would just want to go for like $1 billion, like just a nice round. I mean, just like just
a nice Facebook billion with a B.
Yeah. If anyone else, because I think Springsteen was 500 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 500 million.
He'll want more than the boss, don't you think?
Yeah, he'll definitely want more than the boss. He's the voice of a generation.
I mean, well, I love some Kanye. We'll put it that way. I love some Kanye.
Indeed.
So let's go around and just kind of sum up with like a recommendation, maybe, and kind of just a quick little update or whatever you're working on or anything you've got to plug. I'll just go ahead and go. You guys can think about your lists quick if you want. My recommendation is the Tangerine Dream new album, the new Tangerine Dream, Realm. Came out this year. using some of Edgar's tapes and recordings and MIDI files, and they have the band members, the existing band members have access to his whole archive, which is massive.
Oh wow!
And honestly, it's gonna be in my like top however many 10 or 12 or 15 records of the year. Tangerine Dream put out a banger in 2022. Who'd have thought? If you like Night Mode, if you like any of the classic Berlin School stuff, it's very pretty. It's very, it's not all major key, but there's a lot of kind of major key and beautiful arpeggios, and the production is a nice mix of kind of classic Tangerine Dream and with a modern kind of edge to it. Really, really beautiful. And I think some people who may not typically listen to instrumental synthesizer music, this might be a really approachable one and a good one to check out, to kind of dip your toes. You know, if you like Daft Punk or Phoenix or there's no vocals, so it's not, you know, it's not a pop record, but if you like some of those sounds, this might be an entry point to some of that stuff. As far as what I'm working on, I mean, I just released a massive 4.5 hour set of my own synthesizer music. It's called Only Mostly Dead. It's been bubbling away in the background, and I will link to it, of course. It also comes in a cut down selections from Only Mostly Dead format, which is a like a long CD length, and I have some physical CDs. If you really want a physical CD of the selections short version, you can hit me up for that. In terms of what's coming, huge solo record coming out on November 1st. It's called Fight Songs. It's Nate plays on it, Rob sings on it. I've got, you know, the whole crew came and did different parts, Drew and Corey and of course Scott. And it is, if you've ever liked anything I've done, you're gonna like this one. It's catchy, the vocals are right up front, everything's popping along. It's inspired by Motown and Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe and punk rock and all the fun, zippy stuff you can imagine. I just went and did bops and bangers and really tried to do a crowd-pleasing thing here. So look for that on November 1st. And then in 2023, scary to think that we're, you know, approaching that already, but
hopefully
yes, hopefully we'll continue to exist into the new year. But plenty of stuff lined up, more synthesizer stuff, more hip hop and 404 type stuff coming out, and I don't know, maybe we'll get the Mars Lights records done in 2023. That would be amazing. And then also I'm experimenting with some kind of lo-fi, punk, metal inspired stuff. I don't know when, there's no date on that, but that's what's like fresh top of mind right now. So I'm just going to be all over the place in 2023 is kind of the plan.
Killer.
Bob, what you got?
Well, my recommendation, if you haven't heard the new Orville Peck record, it is incredible. This is like the first major label record I've listened to over and over again in a very long time. So Orville Peck is a country artist, baritone. He wears these ridiculous like 80s era cowboy costumes with like leather tails and frills, and he has a mask on the entire time, a ridiculous looking hat. Like, it's really, really out there presentation, but at the core of it are amazing songs by an amazing country singer, like the kind of baritone that I remember growing up with in the late 80s and early 90s. When I think about what when Nashville first went to New York and first started making records on labels like Columbia, with the lush orchestration and the huge sound and the tons of parts and the big massive production values, like, this is one of those records, but it's relevant today and the songs are absolutely incredible. If you're going to get started, the opener is a tune called Daytona Sand, which is incredible. Great video also on YouTube, which you can pick up right away. The best song on the record, in my view, is Kalahari Down, which is, one of the best songs I've heard sung by a baritone in a very long time. So highly recommend some Orville Peck. It is incredible. Oh, what's up, Kitty?
I guess is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I'll keep it simple. I would say anything by Barry Harris. If you're an iTunes person, it's Barry Harris Essentials. Also, I would recommend the Volume 1 by Aaron Parks, I believe is his name. Jazz pianist. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Well, nice looking, Rob. Are you working on?
Yeah, Aaron. Volume 1. Aaron Parks, Matt Brewer, Eric Harland. Yeah, he has Volume 1, Volume 2 out. That's I would absolutely recommend. And then, I mean, I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff brewing. I'm just gonna keep it simple. There's too much stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, I can link to anything you want me to. Just shoot me an email. Rob, did you want to say? Are you working on anything? Are you writing or?
Yeah. So I really I'm working on a comedy series that I can't talk about yet, but it'll be a straight to YouTube kind of bit. And if you love New York and you love absurdist humor, I think it's something that you'll dig, and I hope I'll be coming out with that in Feb or March of 23.
Very cool. All right, guys. Good talk. Listeners, we appreciate your time. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed on whatever platform you're listening on. That's always great. And shoot us any questions you might have. Until next week, where we'll be joined by guest Kat King. Very excited to have Kat on the show. We're going to listen to some EPs, and she's got a new single out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that'll be a good show. And until then, we've been the Long Play Listening Party. Later, everybody.
Later!
All right, we did it.
Oh, we did it. Done did it.
Miles got very insistent about needing to be on my lap.
Miles was making the scene.